Okay. Hari? Hari?
Yes, sir.
Either audio. Okay, okay. Hari, unmute your video. Participant, am I audible? Please type post yes on the chat box if I am audible. Please. Okay, fine. Hari, unmute your video.
I'm unmuted. Should I turn on the video, sir?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll move. Very good evening. Warm welcome to all. On behalf of JA Group of Institutions, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you all for today's webinar on digital twin, new generation technology for web technology. The topic digital twin have a close connectivity between the topics which you have seen earlier, that is digital transformation and product lifecycle management. It also a similar kind of technology. It's going to rule the industry very soon. It's very interesting and important technology. Should know everyone who use digital devices access to internet. You cannot escape by saying I am not a IT guy. I don't want to know what it is. Now, how people spell out the technologies such as web technology, mobile technology, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and so on. It's a time now to start spell out the technology called digital twin. A digital twin is a virtual model of a process, product, and service. There are a number of definitions given by various people. The definition given by IBM define the digital twin as a living model that derives the business outcome. A digital twin, the word coined by Dr. Michael Greaves in 2002. It's kind of extension of PLM, similar approaches as product lifecycle management. Initially, digital twin technology used in manufacturing sector. Now it's used in all verticals. The Gartner surveys reveals digital twins are entering mainstream use. 75% of organization implementing IoT are already use digital twin or plan within a year. Gartner predicted that by 2022, over two-thirds of companies that have implemented IoT will have deployed at least one digital twin in production. We might actually reach that number within a year. With this brief introduction of digital twin, we will invite our speaker. We have one of the very vibrant technocrat with us, Mr. Harinath. He is a product manager at Claritrix India Private Limited, Chennai. It's popularly known as Buddy Health. With very strong technical skills and work with various technologies such as big data, data analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Now working with digital twin technology. Prior to his Prior to this, he worked as a software engineer at Broadsoft Technologies and Burning Glass Technologies, Chennai. He has completed his engineering degree in computer science and engineering from Anna University. He has received a Peer Choice Award from Broadsoft Technologies in 2017 and Best Technical Excellence in Software Award in 2015. On behalf of JA Group of Institutions and all the participants, it's my honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Harinath. Before getting into the session, so as usual, the few points need to be discussed. It's for newcomers. At the end of the presentation, we will provide you the feedback form. So the feedback form placed at the top of chat box. So you can take the feedback form and complete and submit it. And I request everyone to fill up the feedback form. Without that, you cannot receive the certificate. And I request everyone to type your name in the capital letter and provide valid email ID. And the second, the technology used here is purely rely on local bandwidth. Okay, if you have any audio or video issues, okay, you can click reconnect button so that you can resume the playing video or you can listen audio. And if you are due to some issues, if you are closing the window or closing the browser, okay, so the webinar will expire. So what you have to do is you have to re-register again and you can connect with us, okay, by using the webinar link. And if there is any technical glitch in our side, we will back in 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, so don't go away. Okay, don't close the window or don't close the browser. So you can watch the replay of videos of all our webinars through YouTube. Okay, search by using the topic of webinar. So with this note, I'm very glad to welcome Mr. Harinath to present. Over to Harinath.
Thank you for your kind words. Okay. If I just click on the slide, it will open it, right?
Yes, yeah, just a minute.
Okay, maybe I click on the start presentation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening all for people who are joined for this webinar. Let me just go to the first one. Yeah. Yeah, great. So good evening all once again. Thanks for joining for this call on digital twin powered by IoT and AI/ML. So let's get started. Before we start, I like to give a base premise or something like what we are doing currently. Something if if any new technology comes into the market, definitely there'll be some technology, the alternatives which people are using currently. So which we have to understand, right? Some people might have facing a problem with the current system. We have to understand, okay, these are the problems with the current system. Maybe for this only, I'm seeking a new technology. That is why they say what is it called? The people call it, right? Necessity is a mother of invention. If you are facing some problem, that is where the people get to create develop some new technology outside the market. So I'm just briefly go through the agenda part. So let's understand what is the user interface, the challenges in the traditional system as we discussed now, and let's understand what is digital twin, and let's understand the various use cases in the industry across sectors. And we'll also go through the different examples like one by one. By taking a specific sector, we will try to understand, okay, these are the areas where in which digital twin makes a strong hand. And we also try to understand the different type of digital twin which people are making in the industry, and the challenges in the adaptation, and the different tools or the vendors where you can develop your solution on your own. So I can keep a bet saying that in next 10 years, there are going to be a complete revolution on how you access any system. For in case like we are accessing most of the system in a non-trivial way, but because if you want to make your parent to book a train ticket, someone has to come and educate that you have to click these many options to do a booking. The user, even though it's maybe a 1 or 2 time, they might get used to it, but still there are like technical difficulties in understanding. Even though our parents might be educated, they are finding it very hard to use these kind of systems. Think of in many use cases where in which system is so complex that a normal layman or the normal user, think of like operator or a assemblyman or a mechanic who wants to access any digital system, teaching them on giving training becomes very hard. So let's see how digital twin is making a change or making impact on others' life. Uh, Coming to the user interface, we all interact with user interface on our daily life. User is interface is like how you interact with the system and how user interact with the computer. So it's like a two worlds, right? Computer is a digital world and user is a human being. How the interaction happens between these two users. They have a special study, something called as a human computer interaction. They work on like how we can make the user more comfortable in using the cyber system or the digital system. So that is what we understand about the UI. People will call generally UI UX. So we try to use it on daily basis in a lot of different ways. We might have a mobile phones, we might book a train ticket, we might book a movie ticket, we might order through Swiggy app. So we have like a lot of options in interacting with the these computer systems. So the three type of systems what comes to your general product classification are the following: the command line utility. Before the year of 2000 and all, people were using the command line utility to access with the computer. If you think of the 1990s or the 80s time, the birth of Unix and Linux system, when you want to interact with computer, earlier you had a punch cards. Then people had something called monitor with terminal. They have to punch in some commands to speak with computer and interface with the user. Again, what happened is like, okay, if people, no, not all users of the computer are very technical, so they had a concept of something called graphical user interface. That's why the GUI counterpart came in. That's why the Apple as well as the Windows started to write a UI application on top of the operating system. Today's world, we just able to complete all the operation by few button clicks, so that any non-technical person or non-techie guy can start interacting with the computer. Like even to take a printout, if you just scan the document, if you click the print button, you will able to print the document and you can have take the hard copy. Else you may have to develop like you have to type like a lot of commands to get the operation done. So see how the people starts to evolve. Early you had the command line interface, then you had the graphical interface, wherein which you are able to interact with the mouse and keyboard. It's like a power of two worlds. And then there's something called the menu-driven one. So like you might have people have used any tablet kind of system where there are like you will see like a lot of menus, or you can take an example of ATM. We go to ATM wherein we punch in some information to withdraw the cash. We might say that this is the savings and this is my current account. You might punch in your password and enter your denomination, and you get the amount and you reach back to home. That's all the different kind of interfaces are broadly classified. Now going to the next part. So the next world, like people have, this is like the end user, which we call as the business to consumer. Like what are the examples we saw is like business to consumer. But there is a different world, something called to B2B or B2B, wherein which if you want to come up with some kind of dashboard, all people might have seen some kind of dashboard earlier. If you go to your, what is it called, Amazon.com, and if you check out your order history, that will give you the complete history, like what are the different items you have ordered in the past and what is the current item, what is the state of it, whether it's been delivered or it's been processed from center A to center B. So those informations are there in the traditional dashboard. So again, there's a problem over here. If I want to understand any dashboard for a sake, it becomes very tricky for me. The reason becomes very tricky for me is I have to understand what developer is trying to communicate with me. If you see, these are the different board. If I want to teach to any end user, they have to understand, okay, if there's a green color, I don't have to worry about it. If it's orange, there's some problem. If it is blue, there is definitely an indicative measure on the color part. Similarly, you see like lot of metrics. Some metric people have used a shorter form. That's why the problem comes in. The web dashboard seems to be give a greater insight about the problems in the system, or you can think of a reporting or other if you want to understand how system works. The challenges are it requires a user training. Maybe Amazon looks pretty simple, but if you think of like cloud providers like Amazon.com and the Azure or AWS or any other system, when you want to access the system, it definitely requires a user training. At least a bare minimum of user training is required to interact with the system. So that's a problem number one. So too many controls. You see like lot of options like a date picker. You get to see like lot of small things, which again makes the user so confused. Like I can guarantee that people who are using IRCTC can definitely agree with it. You see like lot of hidden features are there. Now and then you try to identify, okay, these are the features are available in IRCTC. I can maybe use it next time. See, a system like IRCTC, which is designed for the end user itself, contains these many features, think of a case like an enterprise user, where in which they have a lot of domain relevant information. If you think of example like maybe let's take a simple example. If college management wants to understand how students are performing for last 1 year, like for a given semester, they want to understand. Then people will come up say that I want to understand by the student wise, the department wise. I want to understand by the faculty how faculty is performing and student is having a report, and how a student is behaving with the review sort of it, how their test is progressing or decreasing. So the use case starts to flow with the domain specific areas like a college management system. So again, if any new user or new faculty comes in, if they want to access the system, they at least requires a barrier of training to start with the system. So those are the technical difficulty. Even for the educated folk like for us, we are facing these many difficulty. Think like an operator who's sitting in the assembly line. Yeah, he may not have a complete understanding, or he may not even seen a computer in his past. But recently, as we, a lot of people have access to mobile phone, but nonetheless, using a complicated web system still requires a user training. To use it in a full potential, definitely it take a lot of time to understand, because he does have to understand how to do a daytime picker for a simple case. If I want to do these many sorting, they have to know how to perform the sorting. If I want to unselect something, then they have to know like what are the options present in the window. Like if you want to select the this option, you have to cancel out. It still requires a lot of training. Maybe after 6 months or 1 year only, the end user will feel comfortable with the user system. But when he goes for a different place, or if there's a different IT system is in working place, same if the same faculty goes for a different college, if they are using a different system X or system Y, then again they have to start from the first. Maybe they're from the earlier system, they can understand something how the system works, but definitely this new system they have to understand a lot of different aspects. So those are the problems over here. Again, when you present too many information to the user, people term it something called information overload. If you say too many information to a user, definitely user will feel confused. That's what we happen in the classroom type, right? If faculty is giving too much information to a candidate on a day one, like if you want to cover the complete information on the data structures and algorithm only one class, see how much amount of information you have to grasp in a given day or a given hour. So that becomes pretty complex, right? Human brain is not adaptable to this problem. So here in the user interface or the human computer interaction, people call this the information overload problem. So these are the challenges you undergo in the traditional dashboard. Clear? Okay. Sir, can you play this video? Let me play a video for you. I hope people have got a chance to look into the video. Video had never any kind of dictation or kind of any special audio, just the background music you had it. But the video would have given the base idea or the crux, like what is it we are gonna see today. You might have understand like a lot of modeling part, like you might have seen a humanist using his hand to understand this human autonomy of the body, and you can see like a lot of cars how they try to see in the model through the model part. You might have seen like different other use cases in the manufacturing. Let's try to understand what is digital twin is all about. So digital twin is a computer based version of anything that exists physically. Maybe this word might seem simple, but think of like some system like think in a case of a factory. Like I hope you can think of like an example of factory in a movie. Think of like an operator who stands in front of computer and does some operation. What if I'm saying that you will be able to create system something very similar to what is present in the real world from a distant location or from a remote position, location, you will be able to operate it, or at least you will be able to understand how system is working for a period of time. Most of the time the operator or technician, he stands in front of some computer or a machine to understand whether the system is working fine or not. If something got over, he is doing a topping of some information. So it requires a physical presence, and you have to be in the manual position. But think of a digital twin. If I say that you can able to make a copy, replica copy, what is there in the factory or any machine or process, you can transfer to a computer system. From that point, you will be able to control the machine activity, or at least you will be able to understand how the system is working for a period of time. That's the first point is about. Second point is, now if I say something of what is there exists in the real world, exists in the virtual world, then it requires a modeling part. Like whatever you see on the physical part, you have to exactly measure the dimensions of it. You should have a 3D physical model. Like if you have seen some robo movie where they have shown animation, which is like near similar to how it works in the real world. That's the virtual copy. And the digital twin is virtual information where they say it from small information. So it's about you design the system, right? So you can decide how much detail you want to express to the digital system. If you want to even show the vibration happening in the system, yes, it's doable. If you want to just show that what is it the frequency it operates, or what is the temperature, or what is the current moisture level in the place, everything is under your control. So you can have from micro to macro scope, everything is completely configured by you. That's the whole idea. If I go back to the traditional dashboard, these system not exist. If I want to have some information, you have some traditional dashboard with it. If you want anyone have to understand the traditional dashboard, they have to have a lot of domain understanding. But if I'm seeing a lot of pictures where in which you had to interact with something on the very real world. Here you might have seen some example here, right? This is the proper digital twin which is being implemented. This is not any video at all. It's a proper digital twin. Here you get to see a pump over here, right? So what happens in the oil rig on the oil wells most of the time, the pump is a very critical component. So the pump has to run 24/7. So only during maintenance it has to get on, it has to turned off, or it has to taken down. Say suppose if there's a problem in the pump, if suddenly the pump stops in, the entire production what they anticipated will go down for a toss for sure. So what if I say whatever is there in your factory or in the oil rig, if I able to mimic with it, you can see this part over here. They have modeled the completely that pump over here. If I want to understand the metrics of it, let's say a pump, what is the heat of it? It is being done. Is there any problem with the coil? These informations can be collected by the different modes, which we will see in the upcoming slides. But think of it as a evaluation system. Instead of just people show me with a 4 different thing, okay, this is the pump name and this is the model version, this is the heat and so on. But if I project you with something or real thing, the replica what is there exists in the real world. See, anyone who has a very less experience with the computer, they can start interacting with these kind of system from day one. Think of they carrying in a tablet somewhere in the remote location. The operator, that the engineer just sees that there's some problem. He can ask this operator go and look into it, or if possible, if something can be solved, he can able to configure it in his tablet and say that okay, there's not enough pressure is being done. You go and please rectify the section A. So see, this option of the possibilities are very high with the case of digital twin. So when you can able to replicate something on the real world to a digital world, the options are endless. Coming back to the different use cases, I showed you just one example of the pump. Think of like a efficiency of a wind farm. A wind farm, you might have seen like a lot of wind energy is being generated using the turbines. If you have like there's a efficiency pattern, that's one use case. Think of like a smart city. Like people are calling about smart city for a very long time. So, for example, in a situation like a COVID, if government wants to understand where the traffic is being happening, too much traffic is being happening, they have to go through each different traffic control room to understand the update. What if the bureaucrats or the politicians have access to a physical replica, virtual replica, where they can zoom something like a Google Street View. Google Street View is the something on a static way, which they update now once a while. But something you think of sensors with all the technology, if you can bring up all the smart city to a computer, if they want to understand what is happening in the T Nagar or what is happening in the this highway NH45, that gives a complete understanding. Right? If there's too much traffic, they can assign their more traffic person to the particular area, or if there's a water shortage or there is any problem, even before the consumer or even before the normal people report to the government can be proactive in taking a respective action. That is the use case of the smart city. And next is the well maintenance, which is something very similar to the pump. That's one of the use case over here. And next is the automobile. In the video, you might have seen the example wherein which you are able to see a real world car where they are modeled in a 3D way. Usually people might confuse with that AutoCAD or AutoCAD file where they do animation kind of stuff. The problem with the animation is it's not dynamic in nature. You can't control the animation. Once you enter the animation part, it's not, you don't have to confuse the animation with the digital twin. Digital twin is fully responsive, is updated every now and then based on a lot of engineering hacks and the help of IoT and AIML. So that is the clever part over here. Next is the assembly line in the factory. Sometime back, I was explaining like recent day, you might have understand that all the manufacturing sector for last 2 months in the COVID is being completely locked down in Tamil Nadu. That's in the case of whole of India. But let's scope it to the Tamil Nadu part where they completely locked down all the manufacturing industry. Why do they have to lock down? Because people could not come to the factory to on the mission or operate it. But what if, like think of a Tesla factory is like a fully automated to 90%. So where in which if you have a system, instead of the operator, is if you have a simple tablet or a mobile phone, if you can access this machine from his remote position, still factory can run 24/7, right? Whatever is a COVID, or even you might think like only IT people can do a remote job. In future, all the manufacturing sector itself will come to a digital world. That is the coolest part over here. And next is the logistic part. You might have seen the courier service, like you might have seen the trackage, like okay, from my parcel is in this location or this hub, it goes to hub A or hub B. But what if you have something on real time? By real time, if something like a Swiggy, if it gives a Swiggy is kind of a minimalistic digital twin. It gives you like where is the driver or the executive is been traveling. If there's too much traffic, most of the people would have done right. Why are you stuck up in this area? You should reach by this location. Most of people would have educated the executive part. Okay, we're wasting some time over here. Please come by this location. See, these are the possibilities you can think of digital twin. The logistic part, like Swiggy has already like a minimal version. Still, in future, there's like a lot of scope over there. Going back to the next part, why digital twin? All of a sudden, if I say that, okay, these are the advantages, it's all fancy and cheesy, but as an end user, or when you want to think an economical aspect, if I want to introduce a system A to replace with system A with a system B, definitely I should have some benefit. Rather than the monetary benefit of the user training part, yes, user training can be done with a shorter time of time, but is that I can improve my process. That's all the three important things you see. The cost saving part. With the help of predictive maintenance, you can power the digital twin with the help of AI/ML. So in our past, we have developed some application where in which we have made this system more clever or smart by applying like lot of algorithm. We were able to predict when is the machine failure, maybe before 4 hours of time. By doing such things, what we found that operators are more productive. They can able to plan the min and material. That's what people call as min and is, like how many resources are needed to do a troubleshoot this problem. And say suppose if there's some proper motor is going to fail in next 8 hours, assume that the particular motor is not available in the factory setup. They can send some technician, get the motor before 8 hours of the predicted failure part. By the maybe from the end of 6 hours, after 4 hours, if they execute it back again, I don't have to spend a time to losing the production. So I can run within 10 minutes of swapping part. So these are the advantages of the predictive maintenance. The predictive maintenance is the whole of new area, but recent times people are approaching or people are pitching the AML solution with the digital twin as a counterpart, because the digital twin as a counterpart gives a lot of better understanding how system works to the end user. That's one thing. And next is the optimized efficient, increasing optimized efficiency, increasing efficiency here. Like if I understand, maybe the operator might have misunderstood the particular process, or engineer, if they say, okay, it has to be done by this A to B, I can able to find a shorter way to accomplish operation or a better efficiency. So this leads to improvement in the process, like the people call something called OR problem, operational research. By using digital twin, it gives a new world to the people or the domain expert how they can optimally increase their production level. See, most of the production units has been done in all over the world. They at least operate by 90%. If they are not operating by 90%, they are running out of. They are having a loss for sure. But after 90 or 95, they can't go to the 100%. That's what they call Six Sigma, like 99.999 part. So it's become pretty hard to reach such saturation level. Then there's some showstopper. By using digital twin, we were able to see that okay, people are able to increase the efficiency from 90 to 97. 7% increase is a way lot in the money, process time, and customers were able to get the product in a correct time, and they were able to have a bug-free product. And so a lot of things comes with the digital twin, because see, people becomes more productive when they have a right tool. So it's always that if you have a right tool, you can do a operation a much better way. That's saying most of the people would say. You have a right tool, you will be able to complete a X amount of time job in a shorter span. That's the advantage of any tool. So now let's dive deep into what are the different types of digital twins are available over here. Like there are like a different aspect. Let's understand one by one. The first is the process twin. The example of the process twin I could say is a Swiggy one such thing. Or if you think something on the enterprise level, think of like a car factory setup where the car is being done in the assembly line from station A to station B. If it's I able to see something on a digital world, somewhere the factory head or the relevant person can see from a remote place and understand without even stepping to the factory. See, by now a lot of government is proposing like you should reduce number of people going to the factory or the work area. By employing these techniques, it's not that all people have to go through the rounds or inspection, right? They can have something on the remote location. They can comfortably look into it. They can understand how the factory works over a period of time. That comes in the process twin. You mimic any manufacturing process or any process, let's say the food delivery part or the courier or logistic part, everything comes under process twin. And next comes the machine twin. I hope you can able to see this picture of a pump. If you see the picture of this pump, in this picture, it gives a heat map. If you see this is a heat map of a pump where you get to see the redder spots. Maybe this is taken in the X amount of X time, and this is X plus 1. After a specific point of time, I observe that there is a lot of heat is happening in this pump. Either, if I understand it properly, before even it breaks or goes to a tipping point, if I'm a clever technician, I can make it for a scheduled maintenance. I can say that, okay, this pump is going to fail. let me tune it, or just me pour some more oil so that it runs continuously for next 24 hours. So you see here, right? One thing you can do is a process twin, or that's what you see. Process twin is the on the macro part. If you want to go one level further, that comes the machine level twin, where you want to understand the machine level metric. It gives you the heat what is being emitted from the given form. And the next important aspect you see is the factory twin. This is again a super macro level. What if I want to completely automate a factory level? This is being done in the Tesla, like Tesla factory, which is there in the US. It's like mostly automated. They have like a very minimal manpower just do a packaging and final testing. All the process part is done completely automized. If you do a complete automized part, it's all powered by these sensors. Like you might have seen the IoT part, the sensors, like the heat sensor, right? Similarly, people have something called industrial automation or something called industrial sensors. They employ sensors in a right machine. They collect the data in a periodic manner. They send it to some common data store. From that, they try to build a virtual twin of the factory itself. So if some problem is happening in this part, let's say in the section B, there's some problem. Everyone or the security people can try to understand, okay, there's some problem, let me just go and correct it. Or if there's a lot of fans you see on the left hand side, if some problem is there happening the fan level or the turbine level, then I should apply some coolant, or there's some problem I have to go and rectify it. If I don't apply proper cooling, then it becomes a very big problem, because if too much of heat is being dissipated, it can be a problem to the compliance, and it also may lead to the environmental problem. So this helps you to troubleshoot before someone goes and touches or measures the temperature by in person. Having a sensors in place helps you to overcome this problem, and powering with a digital twin, it becomes more natural for the user to interact with it, because this is the factory he's been visiting for a day and out. So he understands where is it each and every mission is present. So it gives the complete freedom. And next is the micro level, which is the product twin. I hope you can see a picture of an engine over here. If you see there's a maybe a 5-stroke engine or 6-stroke engine, they're able to show like what is the stroke in which you are able to see it. If they see some problem in a given piston, they can take a corrective action. So if you take a cars like a Tesla that's done with the software upgrade, they can even call you before that there's some problem with you. They might ask you to come to the factory. So that's why the advancement is happening in the current world. So it's always the all the recent cars like Mercedes and all these cars has this feature. Like you just have to take your what is it called, the wire from your car and plug it a computer. The computer starts to generate the required information of what is the problem with it. It can even sense the tire pressure from your car without even measuring the pressure manually. Think how great is it? But the beauty here is with powering with the digital twin, even without coming to the what is it called, the service station, the operator can say that, or the mechanic can call and inform the customer saying that you are having some problem. You are having too much of control on your acceleration. Make a smooth ride so you don't have to lose a wear and tear from your engine. See, or you may running out of oil. You please refill it. See, these possibilities starts to happen when you think of a digital twin. So when this connectivity between the real world entity and if there's something you can replicate the digital world, the options are countless. It's you start to improvise your workflow, you start to increase your efficiency, so on. So those are the different ideas over here. And the challenges here, the important challenges, like I've said that these are the benefits and these are all sort of things. But if you come to reality, still, if you want to adopt digital twin, there are like there are like some problems or challenges, I would say. I won't say problems, I would say challenges. Why? Because some industry they may still operating from the 1970s style, like they don't have any automated thing. They might have had any sensors to that system. There won't be any sensor at all. They might not have even a single computer. Think of a lathe shop. You may have encountered a lathe shop while going to college, or may have seen from your roadside shop, where they don't have access to any computer at all in their shop floor or the workshop. So the problems are the digital adaptation. Like only if you have a proper sensor which can emit the data back to the user, or the some kind of common system, your system will start generate some data. With that data you can able to make some information, or you can send some information out of it. That comes in digital adaptation. And next is a network availability part. Like you might have used mobile phones. With a mobile phone itself, you might have seen sometimes if you go to your home to a small, another room, you may have seen that your signal is not very clear. The reason is the strength is not good. Think like a factory floor, they may not all covered with a network. You may not attach all the wires to the part. Some may not even possess the Wi-Fi capability. Think like a factory setup. Do you think like is it possible to go and add all machine with the network? If they have a Wi-Fi kind of system, then it is possible because system can emit back to the server with the help of Wi-Fi without too much of wire. That poses the other problem. Doing networking to the complete factory or the system or the process is still a challenge, and it doesn't network reliability. Sometimes what happens if the network goes on, if there's a wire being cut off accidentally or this completely there's a disconnection from the factory and the system, that comes to another problem. How you can come up with this solution? And next is a latency issue. If you want think like something like a digital twin, it should be as real time as possible. There are like two kind of systems, like something called real time and a batch processing. Real time is something like whatever happens in the real world, if it get periodically updated in your system, that becomes a real time system. If you whatever you see in the real world, if it's keep on updating, that we call it a real time system. And some system like think of like a car. If you want once you say accelerator, it has to accelerate at the next moment. Say assume that if it takes like next 10 minutes to accelerate, doesn't make any sense for you. It is waste of money and it poses a very large risk for the drivers, right? Similarly, some systems are very critical. They call it a real-time system. So if the real-time system, if it has to all transfer through some kind of wire or some kind of network medium through the Wi-Fi or Zigbee protocol, like whatever protocol, Bluetooth or a 5G. Now people are thinking like 5G would be the next hope here. Definitely is a big hope for the digital twin as well. Think like if there's any network latency, again it poses a real problem because you can't take a respective action. If you see a data for before 4 hours, doesn't make any sense for the operator to take a decision by now. By the time when it takes a decision, machine would have undergone the failure, operator would have fixed it. So the latency poses the next big problem. So you should avoid all these problems. Still, this can be overcome with the smart planning in the factory setup or any other process, because what Swiggy did, they used the mobile phone of all the executives. They said you should have a smartphone. They made a mandate on that. So all the executive, they're having a smartphone. With the help of smartphone from the Swiggy app, it's been generating data back to you from your mobile phone. See, there's a big difference here. So they have the user is generating data. Another user is able to view the data in his place comfortably sitting in an AC room. Think if you see some problem or too much time spent in the hotel, still it makes a lot of things. In future, who knows? Even the food preparation might come the virtual. Like you might have seen like what chef is doing, what kind of ingredients. It's again a different question mark. Like this has been classically being used in the manufacturing process a lot. We would see like a video in the end, like what are the use cases. Like I'll see a different video, like how it has been done in the real world. And going to the next slide, this is on the different kind of vendors. Like who are the vendors who support these digital twin? If you want to develop some solution for your enterprise, or if you want to develop something on your school project or a college project, this comes, you have to have some tools or utility, right? So these are the available utilities in the market. So the Azure digital twin, the Siemens is the mobile for Ericsson, right? The PTC, General Electric, they have some platform called Predix. The General Electric, who's over the Volkswagen, all the car comes under General Electric. They have something on Predix platform, and Oracle also has a platform for a digital twin, and IBM, the famous company, they also work on a lot of manufacturing companies in healthcare. Even for healthcare, people are revolutionizing the use of digital twin. I'll just play a video that give you a better aspect now, like what is it done.
Digital twin technology is one of the most disruptive tools in digital transformation today. As the digital twin environment continues to grow, we look at the top 10 leading vendors. At number 10, General Electric. General Electric is a well-known name in the digital sphere. The company offers everything from digital twin assets, components, systems, and processes General Electric's belief is that digital twin environment will eventually reduce risk in business environments and maintenance costs, increase reliability, speed up time to value, and improve production. Number 9. Cisco. Cisco is another organization driving the evolution of new digital twin opportunities. The company are particularly interested in digital twin opportunities to drive businesses towards a faster go-to-market strategy. Cisco are working towards delivering shorter sales cycles, increased profit opportunities, and improved quality for organizations through digital twin. At number 8, Dassault Systems. Pioneering digital twins in manufacturing, the company works towards a vision of better understanding the steps they need to take to produce more efficient and effective products for the modern landscape. Earlier this year, they partnered with ABB Ability to simulate ABB solution as digital twins before delivering to customers. At number 7, Siemens. A household name in technology, Siemens is using digital twin technology across its solutions, including its digital enterprise suite of integrated software and automation solutions to its defense in-depth strategy. Not only that, but their MindSphere platform is also complete with digital twin benefits, so businesses can better create data-driven services. Number 6, Microsoft. Microsoft is delivering and empowering digital twin technology as part of its Azure portfolio. The Azure Digital Twin platform is an IoT service that helps businesses create more comprehensive models of their physical environments. What's more, companies can create spatial intelligence graphs to simulate interactions and relationships between devices, places, and people. Number 5, Oracle. With Oracle, companies can create virtual twins to build representations of physical assets and devices on the cloud, speeding up the performance of processes and improving scalability in turn. The company's range of digital twin opportunities is perfect for businesses looking to take advantage of the modern marketplace's ever-growing digital transformation roadmap. Number 4, PTC. PTC believes that digital twins are hugely important for the development of industrial IoT technology. In light of this, PTC helps companies explore the basics of digital twin technology. In fact, they have a number of resources available to outline how you can use digital twins yourself. The company also delves into digital twin technology in its case studies. Number 3, Ansys. Ansys gives companies today the opportunity to build state-of-the-art digital twin using proprietary simulation tools. The company's physics-based simulation coupled with analytics enables companies to make accurate predictions about future product performance with close assessments of their digital twin developments. Their belief is that engineering simulation is essential to success in today's industrial environment. At number 2, IBM. Another household name in the field, IBM is very much on the ball with digital twin technology. IBM believes that digital twins are crucial to the development of IoT technology today. With their digital twin technology, companies can virtually create, test, and build products, helping companies quickly identify issues and help them get their products to market faster. And finally, at number 1, we have Bosch. As a leading manufacturing company, Bosch is also spearheading the evolution of digital twins. Bosch's Eclipse Ditto framework helps businesses work with, manage, and analyze their digital twins. This solution creates a bridge between real-world devices and IoT and their twin counterparts. Bosch is a firm believer in the potential of digital twins to help IoT grow. That's all for now. My name is Max Curtin. For the best articles, the best podcasts, the best white papers, the best interviews, and the best
I hope that I would have given a clear indication that that different kind of vendors. You would have seen in the video that the manufacturing, how people are leveraging it. You may have seen like people like they're using the aircrafts, Dassault system, the French company, how they're leveraging the aircraft maintenance, because aircraft maintenance is a very expensive job. If you want to do a maintenance, it will cost you like more than 15 to 20 lakhs for a given do a maintenance. That's on the weekly basis. If they can cut short it or if they can optimize it, think how much of amount they will be saving in a given month. Think how much they could save on a given year. There's a lot of men and material. Again, they would have been saved using it. People are using, like, if you want to adopt a digital twin, like you have seen from the video that they provide you the assets, they provide you the process, because it will be very hard for the user to develop some assets on their own. It's pretty complex, right? If you ask you to develop some 3D model on our own, it becomes very pretty complex. But if you have some system or utility, like you can pick something like maybe like what they call a drop editor, just pick and drop. That makes your process much easier, right? That's how your system should evolve. That's the whole idea of the different vendors in the digital twin. Coming part on the killer combo, like where does it really benefit or how the digital twin will make a real impact? So you have to have a four important pillars. One is the IoT part. Without the data is being generated or if the machine is not capable of generating data, then you can't conceptualize the digital twin to the real world. That's the first one. Then with the simple data, if you think, okay, I'm done, I can able to have a digital twin, again, doesn't solve your purpose to a lot of use cases. Why? Because if computer is smart enough to suggest that there's some kind of problem going to happen or take this corrective action, or you should give us some broad aspects. That's what people call in analytics the four things: the predictive part, the descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and the prescriptive part. The four are different umbrellas in the analytics part. So only if you have some predictive capabilities, you can make a true sense or make a real use of a digital twin. And next comes the digital twin. How we can create the digital twin with the data which is being stored somewhere, how you can read it on the real-time basis. And next, last part is something called edge computing. Most of the time, it's very hard for the user or the customer to deploy a very costly machine on the premises. So people are now coming with the concept of edge computing. What is the edge computing? To be very simple, you do the computation on the node level. For example, if you take some sensor data, or if you want to measure the temperature of the pump, instead of it's being sent to the server and getting processed in that area, what if the data is very small to the pump level? If you have like thousands of pump, instead of sending all thousands of pump data to the central database, if you have smaller system like a edge computer, you can think of something like a Raspberry Pi or Banana Pi. They're like industry grade edge computing devices also available. With those devices, you can do some kind of pre-processing or data massaging on that, or you can even build some model specific to that machine and send the data back to the cloud machine, maybe Azure portal or your own database server. That comes in the killer combo. So that would cover the all aspect. The data is the first aspect. With data, how you can make it smart by applying the AI/ML part to make it smart and user to make it very user intuitive. That comes the digital twin. But we see from experience that we develop a lot of machine learning solutions to customers. What we felt is like most of the time, people find very hard to understand certain machine learning solution or the solution which we provide to the user. But with the digital twin, they were able to connect the power of AI/ML to the real scenario in a much easier aspect, because it able to understand the executive user as well as the layman user. The user adoption to the system is a key factor. If any system wants to get successful, that is the key factor in which the user interface should be very intuitive. I hope with the help of a digital twin, it's greatly possible. If you think like an example like IRCTC, if there's multiple websites for book a website, think like maybe Redbus. Redbus is much easier to book any tickets, right? You don't have to do a hard way of using IRCTC. We have only that's the only option we are left with it. But what if there are multiple options to the user? Most of the business user, the end user, will have multiple options or multiple softwares to try. If your software or if the application is being powered by digital twin, then it becomes very natural for them to interact with it. That's like a very value-added feature to the system. That's the whole idea. Now I like to play one more video, like a real-world scenario where they have incorporated the digital twin on action. Right now we just see the conceptual way, right? I just show you one such video back where they have implemented the digital twin on their one of the use case.
Yeah, so today the challenges the airport face is that they have a very difficult time understanding the big picture of what's happening. You have different roles in the airport working off silos of information, and it's overwhelming to bring it all together and consume that. There are many more sources of data today, and that's continuing to grow as the digitalization of the airport matures. And with technologies like IoT, where everything in the airport has sensors and emitting data, it's overwhelming. Some of the opportunities that the airport has to utilize that data is around better situational awareness, what's happening all over the airport, but also being able to go back in time and understand what happened, what they did, and learn from those experiences. But also with artificial intelligence, we can now be more proactive because we can give them a view of what's coming, and they can be more prepared on what to do about it. Yeah, so to overcome some of these data challenges, we've been exploring a concept called digital twin, which is something that came out of industrial manufacturing, and you see it's very mature in Formula One racing, where given enough data, you can build a virtual version of a physical thing. So if you imagine the airport as a machine, and we can create virtual bags, people, aircraft, you can start to simulate how those things are going to flow before it happens, and understand where points of congestions are, where your issues are, and be more proactive about recovery. Yeah, so this is the digital twin concept that we've been working in the lab, and we've been partnering with LaGuardia to understand how the technology can help them visualize everything that's happening in the airport all together. So the idea is, just like a weather map, is to be able to layer lots of different pieces of information in the context of where it's happening. So what you're seeing is a real-time view of the airport, the traffic flows. You see the aircraft, and you can click on the aircraft and get a sense of what's happening. We can look at arrivals into the future. So this is a view of all the flights that are going to arrive in the next 120 minutes. What's late, how many passengers are in there. And when you start to see clusters like this forming around specific concourses or piers, that tells them that they may need to dispatch additional staff to deal with the congestion, or be more diligent about cleaning the bathrooms, that sort of thing. And the neat thing about the digital twin is that we can tap into many data sources, and you can get a blown out view of the entire airport. So let's say there's a power outage, and you can get in one view what kiosks and check-in counters and gates are operational, what elevators are working or not working, where your staff is, and that helps the airports recover much faster from these kinds of discoveries. The other thing that customers really like about this tool is that they can go back in time and see all those views in the past and replay those, and they can start to learn what happened, what they did about it, and improve, and even use it for training purposes for their staff. So now we have a window in time in the past that we can replay, and you can see what's happening, and you might see alerts or alarms that happened in the past where you can start to analyze the situation and drill into different views to understand how it all interconnects. In the lab, from a research perspective, we're still looking at how to create simulations so that you can then do what-if analysis. What if I did something different? How would that impact the operations, or how would that improve things? And then also the predictions, to be able to, like a weather map, be able to predict what's coming in the future. And again, give them the ability to play what-if scenarios to better optimize what they're going to do in the future.
I hope that I've given you a clearer view, like what is the whole idea about the digital twin. See, in this example, they have used the airport as a scenario to understand or fully digitalize the airport to a digital twin, so they can understand by the floor wise. They said in the video, they are mentioned that in given an elevator, which elevators are working or not. If they see a clusters of people coming to the airport, they use a word called do diligently. That's a very great word. So they said they can clean the restrooms if they see like a lot of people comes in. So that makes a lot of improvement on the app. They are charging you with a lot of money. So they do a justice. See how they try to improvise their operational aspect by use of a digital twin. So I have a demo to show to you, a simple demo. I think I'm sharing my screen. I hope people can have a look of it. I hope this window is visible for you. I'm just loading it up. If you see here, this is the Renault car, which has been created with the digital twin. See, like most of the website, you might be able to see similar picture, but the advantage here is the details over here, like the how much detail is being done, how the real car is being done with the complete information. You will be able to have a look. Like if you want to go inside it, if you want to understand how the dashboard looks in, what are the different controls. See, if you carefully understand, I can scroll through it, I can understand what is the intensity of light which enters the car in this mode. I can truly understand how it looks like. Here I might not have the control, but think like adding a proper controls. Think like a remote car. You might have all played with the remote car in the past. Think like a remote car where you can start driving with these kind of real world application. That's one of the example. I'm now quitting back and coming to it. This application still runs in my browser. It's not any third-party application. See, the system becomes more remote. Like with a simple browser, I'm able to run this application. Now it becomes like more of like a web-based style. That's why we had a type of web technology. Like through the web itself, I was able to do like a lot of smarter things with it. That gives a better idea. See, I'm able to play how the car works in the real world. Here, I'm not able to stop it, but thing is, see, I'm able to run it in the dark mode. How the car will look like in the pitch dark mode. And I'll show you another demo of another car. If you see this car, I can still control it to the extent. If I am just using my arrow keys to control this car, I can truly understand if I'm stopping this car, how it will look like, or if I want to take a reverse of it, or if I want to take a side. See, the advantage here is the details here. If you can zoom it on the information, still you can see the sky is being reflected over here. That's the beauty of it. It's not like you have some dummy cartoonistic or it doesn't have any realistic image. It starts to grow more realistic. It gives the end user more feeling that they are seeing the real world entity. That's the one of the cool part of the digital twin. And one more example I have is the house over here. This is the another random example of a store, or you can think of a mall. So they are modeled completely. Still, this model is completely configurable by me. If I can understand like what is there in current flow, like is there any power outage or the stock is being sold out, the options are unlimited, right? By sitting from a remote place, the executive can perform like a lot of operation. The future of the manufacturing or any store lies in the robot part. They can make a call to the executive, or they even call to the sales team to procure more items and keep it in racks. So the options are unlimited. So I just want you to give the this is not a deeper information of the digital twin, but I hope that I delivered a bare minimum of at least a crux of it, what digital twin is capable of. I'm open to any question. You people have any questions?
Okay. Just a minute. I think there is no question given.
Okay. Okay.
There's one question asked previously. What's the difference between the PLM and digital twin? There's a question asked. The project
Okay.
lifecycle management.
The traditional PLM or the processes, like it's not more of like two things I see in a very layman's term. I can go in detail, but I just want to keep it very simple. One thing is like developing a PLM is like was a very expensive one because you have to provide the proprietary softwares to get the job done. But one other alternative of digital twin is you can develop with the open source tool. That's one thing. And one of the most important thing is all the PLMs are not smart enough. Like saying thing is if you think like it can predict something for you, or if it's a real time, these two critical factors are not available. It just can report something, but to be very smart and looks like a very more of real world, those thing missing pieces are there in the PLM counterpart. So digital twin has the upper hand, and it can run over the browser or the tablet or the phone. So those are the difference it comes to my mind currently.
What's the relationship between IoT and digital twin?
Good question. So digital twin cannot work without the data. If assume that if you want to continuously monitor the engine heat without any sensor or any data generation unit, it's not possible even to show what is happening in the real world. So the IoT or the industrial sense has been attached to the machine, collects the data and sends to some common database or the digital twin system. So the data is something like a parent, I would say. Without IoT sensor, digital twin operation becomes absolute. You can't even operate. So now people have evolved using the IoT and they keep on adding more sensors to the operation. I think now it's the right time people should adopt the digital twin into the operation so that they can make it their process to be more efficient.
How digital twin can be useful for education?
Great question. How digital twin can be used for education? Um, maybe I'm just thinking out while I am just thinking. I can pitch up some random use case, but I'm thinking whether we have some viability. Let me think of it for the education aspect. I won't think of any. I can't come up with any example right now for education part with the example of the student and the professor. But if you think like a college management system, you can make a digital twin, and if you can optimize the all the resource being done, how the students are moving from block A to block B, and is all the resources being properly utilized or not? Is there any AC is being unutilized? Those things can be modeled. But I'm just thinking widely like how digital twin can be useful for the education sector, is specific for the student and the professor. I'm just thinking out loud.
What tools generally used for modeling digital twin?
Okay, I think I didn't show you that last slide I have with me. Let me just share that slide with you.
Yeah, sorry, shared.
Okay. Okay. Can you share the presentation, sir?
Yes, yeah.
I think stuck up somewhere.
Just.
Yeah, thank you. Is it how? Yeah. These are the different tools through which you can develop your own digital twin. One such option is using the available vendor or the like the Azure and the IBM and the Oracle. If you want to develop something on your own, so these are the different utilities where you can use it. So iModel JS has been open sourced by the Bentley. You might have heard about the Bentley cars, right? Say they open source this version, like you can, if you supply any CAD file, and that becomes a digital twin. So with if you have something digital twin, you can still connect with the front end, back end. They it's a provided adapter. It can speak with any message queue. That's one of the recent what is it called, the frameworks being open source. And the traditional one is the WebGL, with the which goes to the heart or the base of all Unity or the 3.js. So 3.js is another fantastic library through which people conceptualize a digital twin. So I think with these three libraries itself, you can make wonders. And of course, if you have a really interest in making some 3D models, which you can come up with a Blender kind of tool. So Blender can generate the 3D models. You can import all these tools into Unity. People are into game development. You might understand how they can import the model. But if you just hit the internet, like how to import it, you can even import a simple pen into the digital twin. If you have sensors to it, or if you can add to AC from a, like most of the time in a home, we have the Wi-Fi enabled AC that starts generating data. If you are clever enough, you can migrate the data from your AC to your desktop browser. That's pretty simple. From anywhere in the remote portion, just by spending a week, you'll be able to develop application on top of it, your own smart solution. Any other questions?
I think that's it. Okay. Thank you, Ria. I request all the participants should submit a feedback form so through which the certificates can be generated. You can receive the certificate within maximum of 2 days. And thank you very much, Hari, for spending your valuable time with us in your busy schedule. Hari is a proud alumnus of our institution. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. Thank you very much for the excellent presentation on behalf of Jaya Group of Institutions and all participants. Once again, I thank you, Hari. At this juncture, I place my sincere thanks to our management, my thanks to our chairman, secretary ma'am, vice chairman, and our principal, and all my colleagues who rendered their support for conducting this webinar series. The next schedule tomorrow at 6 p.m. Very interesting topic, asanas as a preventing technique, a systematic view by Ms. Yoga Acharya S. Edilalasi, founder and director, Yogalaya Healthcare Institute, Vadavalli, Chennai. We are going to have a very interesting session, and Yoga Acharya S. Edilalasi is a qualified trainer, received various awards. Okay, so I request everyone to attend with your family and friends and get a lot of benefits out of it. So request everyone to connect for the tomorrow event. Thank you all for your active participation. Thank you one and all. We will meet again by tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hari.
Thanks for the conversation. Thank you.